So I'm Luke Ranker out here at the Capitol Journal and the mid-block of the 800 block of South Kansas Avenue, where a large group of people from the Poor People's Campaign have blocked the intersection here. As you can see, there was some traffic over here. It was backed up through that 8th intersection, and they've all turned around because they can't get through. And there's a couple, looks like some Capitol police officers are moving in here. This just started, they just moved into the mid-block here about maybe 5 minutes ago. This all started at the State House at 1:30. This is the third week of protests in a 6-week program. This one today has been focused on violence, both foreign and domestic. So they were at the State House on the South Capitol lawn, and then they moved over to the Curtis State Office building, and now they're over here. Looks like there's a Capitol police officer moving in here. I think he's going to go talk to this guy back here who's parked his car, see if he can get out of there. I parked in this block. That was a mistake. So if you look back here, Capitol Police have closed down the intersection at 8th and Kansas. Now they're appearing to lay down in the street here, and looks like they got some signs here. 1,134 killed by police. In 2016, 337 died from firearms in Kansas. So like I said, today's protest has been focused on violence, both foreign and domestic, but primarily gun violence here in the United States. Looks like you can see back here, sorry it's a little windy, there's a Capitol Police car back there blocking 9th and Kansas. So again, this is the Poor People's Campaign, and this is the third protest in 3 weeks. This one is specific to violence. So I'm going to try to... So the traffic is cleared out here in the 800 block. There's no more cars, but it looks like there's maybe 4 or 5 Capitol police officers down this way, a gentleman here. So the goal here, they did this the first week. They laid in a circle at 10th and Kansas and saying 24 people were given citations for blocking an intersection, but no one was arrested. Last week, 18 people occupied Secretary of State Chris Kobach's office, and they were all arrested. Well, there were, I think, about 30 people in there originally, and 18 people were arrested. So I think the goal here is civil disobedience. Some people want to read the signs. I don't know if I can get much closer, if you can read them. So one says 1,134 killed by police. Another one says 96 dead today in gun violence. Another says 337,000 innocents RIP lost in war violence. So a lot of different signs. This is not the Westboro Baptist Church, for the person who commented about that. This is the Poor People's Campaign. This is the third protest in 3 weeks. This one today is about violence. So, looks like we've got a couple of the police officers down here. They're not, they followed them around. There was a handful of them over at the State House, and then I believe they went over to the Curtis State Office building. So again, a real quick recap of what's going on here. This group from the Poor People's Campaign is in the third protest in 3 weeks. This one here is about ending violence. Last week was about, I think, civil rights, if I remember correctly. I can't remember offhand. So this is the third week of protest. There's 6 weeks altogether. Last week, 18 people were arrested in Secretary Chris Kobach's office. The week before that, about 24 were cited for blocking a similar intersection. 2 weeks ago, they blocked the intersection at 10th and Topeka. We're here in the 800 block of South Kansas, in the mid block. There was some traffic that was backed up, but they have cleared out. So, sorry about that. I don't know if it paused there or not.
We demand a strong Veterans Administration system that remains public. We demand a VA that honestly addresses PTSD and psychological. We demand a ban on assault rifles. And a ban on the easy access to firearms. We demand background checks for anybody selling firearms. We demand the demilitarization of our communities and the interior. We demand an end to federal programs that send military equipment into local and state communities. We demand that the calls to build a wall at the U.S.-Mexico border be ceased. In 2011, Kansas State and local law enforcement received $5,137,205 from the Department of Homeland Security. My armored vehicles.
Killing medicine.
Black people in Kansas are 3 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than the general population. Kansas has one of the most restrictive laws on police body cameras in the country. It is classified as an investigative record not subject to mandatory disclosure under the Kansas Public Records Act. While family members may eventually see what was captured on camera, the public may never have that opportunity. Kansas police departments are not required to release names of officers involved in shootings. Kansas, probably like the rest of the country, doesn't even keep track of how many people are killed by police. From 2000, this is national data. 2008 until 2014, law enforcement has received at least $4.1 billion in military-grade equipment. Overall, law enforcement agencies that received military equipment are associated with greater numbers of civilian killings by police. We demand that police be from the community they police. Do not bring police from other communities to police black communities.
That's right.
Today, we are here to draw to mind everyone who has been a victim of war. In all of our sorrow, we remember. In all of our struggles and wishes, we remember. For Elie Wiesel, who survived and witnessed a genocide and then went on to write about it, said to forget the dead is akin to killing them a second time. So today, let us do our duty of remembrance and draw into our hearts all of those who have been killed by war, militarism, and violence. May we learn our lessons, meaning we will stop the cycles that perpetuate such short-sightedness and shallow action, and look into ourselves first. This is difficult work to look at all the death and destruction, but we must trust our hearts as our guides and feel the things that are happening around us. For Wiesel also said that indifference was the epitome of evil, for a victim's pain and the pain of their surviving family members is only magnified when forgotten. This is an excerpt from a letter penned on the deathbed of Mikhail Kalashnikov, who was the inventor of the world's most powerful firearm, the AK-47. He said, "The pain in my soul is unbearable. I keep asking myself the same unsolvable question. If my assault rifle took people's lives, it means that I, Mikhail Kalashnikov, son of a farmer and Orthodox Christian, am responsible for people's deaths. The longer I live, the more often that question gets into my brain, the deeper I go in my thoughts and guess about why the Almighty allowed humans to have devilish desires of envy, greed, and aggression."
police that are down here at the 800 block, or the intersection of 8th and Kansas, have been here since the beginning. They actually were over at the State House where the protest started, and we're across the street, and now some of them are here. So there's Topeka Police and Capitol Police over here. I think I see 4, 5, 6, 7 units on this side, and there's an additional 2 units on the other block. So they've been down here for a while. If you recall, 2 weeks ago, this same group of people blocked 10th and Topeka, and some of them were hoping to get arrested, I believe. And instead, about 2 dozen were given citations for blocking a public intersection. And I think that continued for several minutes. So they've been in this intersection here since I started the video. So to recap for some of the folks who may not follow the earlier news or have just joined, this is the Poor People's Campaign. It's a local Topeka part of a national movement focused on a number of things: civil rights, poverty. Today's theme is violence, so the focus has been on gun violence and similar violence. Not a lot of pedestrians coming down the 800 block. I don't know if they're being stopped at the intersection or if there just aren't a lot of pedestrians moving around in this block. I can see Vince Fry from downtown Topeka is now over here talking to the police. His office is a block or so from here, so not sure what he's saying to the police right now, but I don't recognize anybody else at the moment. But he's walking. Vince is done talking to the police, walking away. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I see about a dozen police officers down here to the north of where the actual protest is happening. Looks like there's a couple more coming. So not sure if they're going to try to break this up yet, or if they're going to let it go for a little bit longer. There's no traffic coming into the 800 block because it's stopped at both the intersection of 9th and 10th Street. Kind of some perspective, this is the West Star building right here. Lupita's in the Chocolate Shop is in the block north of here. So we're a block south from there. We're in the 800 block in front of the West Star building between 8th and 9th Street. So again, I'm going to recap real quick one more time that this is the Poor People's Campaign. It is week 3 of a 6-week protest. The first week they occupied the intersection of 10th and Topeka, where 24 people were given tickets for occupying the intersection. Last week, 18 people were arrested for occupying the inside of Chris Kobach's office. It's actually, I think, a conference room in the Secretary of State's office. I think 30 people went in there and half of them left. So today's protest is specifically focused on violence, gun violence. There has been some commentary on police brutality. There's been some commentary on assault-style weapons, that sort of thing. And I think I counted at the State House there was a little more than 100 people. I think this looks like a slightly smaller crowd down here. I'm not sure offhand, but looks like there's a police officer walking up here. So the police are hanging out back here. There's maybe a dozen of them. Several more police cars since the last time I panned over here. It is hot for this. It's like 96 degrees. It's warm. So, I'm going to pan over here real quick and get a shot of the number of police officers. I might pause the video for a second so I can shoot a photo of this. Okay, back. Wanted to grab a photo of these guys here. Looks like there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's maybe around 10 or 12 police cars down here, and a little more than 12, maybe 20 or so police officers, both Topeka police, and I think there's a couple Capitol police officers down here. It looks like there's a handful over there on the 9th and Kansas intersection. So again, they're protesting violence today, gun violence, and a number of things. So this is the Poor People's Campaign. I did not start a timer when we came into the intersection here, but however long this video has been running is how long we've been in the intersection. I can't see what that is, so... Somebody just commented and said that we've been out here for 23 minutes. I thought it'd been a little less, but that sounds right too. So we're going above 20 minutes out here in the intersection, I guess. And seems like more police officers are arriving by the minute back here. I don't know if they're going to break it up or what, but again, to recap, 2 weeks ago at 10th and Topeka, 24 people circled up in the intersection and were given citations for blocking the intersection. Last week, about 30 people went into the Secretary of State's office and 18 were arrested after being told to leave. And then that brings us to this week with this protest here, where I see in the intersection off and on I've counted between 20 and 30 people in the actual intersection. So there's quite a bit more that are off on the side and they come back and forth. So
And I love you. I love you just like I love the brothers and sisters that I'm here with now. At some point in our law in this country, we have allowed the protection of property and private property to become more important than the protection of people and our rights. You know, the slave patrols were protecting property. They were getting back on the highway and putting them back on the plantation. Sometimes they would get with but accomplished. We must stand hand in hand, arm in arm with our brothers and sisters who are fighting darkness.
So this protest today isn't specifically to poverty or work or anything like this. This protest today is about violence. The name of the group is just the Poor People's Campaign.
That we will win. I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. I
So if we look back here towards the north side of the intersection, we can see that the police have started to move a little bit. I would say there's... I think there's about 20, 25 police officers down at this intersection. So...
Show
to recap again for the folks who maybe didn't catch it. This is the third protest from the Poor People's Campaign. The first one happened 2 weeks ago. There was a rally inside the State House, and then they occupied 10th and Topeka, where a couple, 24 people were issued citations. Last week, about 30 people entered the Kansas Secretary of State's office, and 18 people were arrested after they did not leave. Today, this protest is focused on violence. It started at the State House, about a block and a half from here, and moved to in front of a state office building, and is now here in the 800 block of South Kansas Avenue in downtown Topeka. There's about 30 folks here in the intersection, and maybe a couple more, maybe 10 more on the outside. We've been doing this for however long this video's been on, probably about 30 minutes, I think. And looks like police down here, they've got the kind of the zip tie style handcuffs. They're passing those out down here, so it looks like something's gonna be happening here soon. Yeah, there's about 30 police officers down here. They're mostly concentrated here at 8th and Kansas. This intersection is also blocked at 9th and Kansas, so there hasn't been much traffic. There's not been any traffic since they entered the intersection. There's probably maybe a half dozen cars that were on this block that needed to turn around and leave when they first occupied the intersection. And there hasn't been any real heavy pedestrian traffic through here. So I'm not sure if they're being turned away at the intersection or what, but... So I'll recap again for some folks who are asking. This is the Poor People's Campaign, and it's a national movement. and today's protest is focused on violence. And we have been out here in the 800 block of South Kansas for about 30 minutes. 2 weeks ago, they occupied 10th and Topeka, and 24 people were given tickets. Last week, 18 people were arrested in Secretary of State Chris Kobach's office, or in the building. I think it was in a conference room or lobby, or it wasn't actually in his office. So, but it was the Secretary of State's office space. So, not sure how long this is going to last. I think the police are kind of waiting it out. There's about 25 to 30 police down here. I saw them passing out the zip tie style handcuffs earlier. So I don't know if they're going to come down here and try to disperse the crowd yet or not. Sorry, I wasn't focused here. So... I think part of what they're chanting is, before this campaign fails, we'll all go down to jail. I can't actually hear it because the wind's in my ear here, but oh, but somebody's trying to leave back here. Looks like they're not having any trouble getting out. So... I don't know. police are about to get on the bullhorn deck.
With the Topeka Police Department. You're in violation of Topeka Municipal Code 9.45.040, obstruction of public ways. It shall be unlawful for persons to gather in a crowd or to collect in such a manner as to prevent, interrupt, or obstruct the travel, free passage, or access over the same by the public upon any public park, sidewalk, street, alley, or building, or upon any private property to which the public has access. You have 2 minutes to clear the roadway, or you will be subject to arrest under the city ordinance. 2 minutes. Starting at 4:50 p.m.
All right, so as you heard there, police are giving them 2 minutes to clear out the road here. I don't see that many people moving. So, I'm not positive how long we've been out here. I'm guessing a little more than 30 minutes. Somebody who looks at the time on the video can correct me, but I think we've been out here for a little more than 30 minutes. Because I started the video right when we started, yep. Sorry. So they're going to get 2 minutes to clear out, and then police are going to come down here, say they're subject to arrest. So looks like people are going around and collecting their signs and flags. There are 7 folks here on this side, and I think 3 folks on the other side, and there's 3 folks in the middle. I don't know that the 3 folks in the middle are subject to this ordinance because they're not actually blocking the road, they're just sitting in the median. So there's I think I count 13 here in the intersection.
This is Corporal Cobbler with the Topeka Police Department. You have 1 minute to exit the street, or you will be subject to arrest under Topeka Municipal Code 9.45.040, obstruction of public ways. We would appreciate your cooperation. Thank you.
Change the code.
This is Corporal Cobbler with the Topeka Police Department. 2 minutes has expired. Everyone in the roadway that has refused to remove themselves from the street, you are now under arrest for violation of 9.45.
As you can see, the police are moving in here.
Obstruction of public ways.
Shame! 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 We are powerful and new, unsettling for.
So folks here are being arrested. I can't hear what they're saying to each other here. So the first group has been arrested here.
Alright guys, I have to do a live shot unfortunately, so I'm not going to let you go. You can see they're peacefully being taken away right now.
Nobody's fighting the arrest here. It looks pretty cordial. So I would say of the 13, there's 7 left. So I might wrap this up so I can take some photographs. So to recap, this has been the Poor People's Campaign. This is the third week of protests, and they started at the state capitol and are now over in the 800 block of South Kansas, where they've been taking over this. They've been in this intersection for about 50 minutes. Now they're shouting Dominique White's name.
Like I'm almost dead. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost dead.
So I'm not clear why they took away the people on the right, but not the people on the left yet.
Dominique White! Dominique White! Dominique White! Dominique White! Dominique White!
I think I'm losing signal here. The video's cutting out a little bit, so I think I'm going to end it here. But to recap, there were 13 people in the intersection, and police have started to arrest them. This is part of the Pro People's Campaign. This is the third week of the protest, and we've been down here in the 800 block of South Kansas Avenue for almost an hour, I think. So I'm going to go and wrap up the video. I think if you started around 45 minutes, it'll show you the arrests.
Dominique White! Dominique White! Dominique White!